Hello and welcome into the channel. This is Paramay Trades. This is Paramay's Trade Journal. Our focus here is to use the commitment of traders, commercial interest, to see if we can find a commodity or something to trade within the list of 45 or so commodities that we're trading, to find sentiment, to find direction, to use it as a leading indicator. We're also going to couple the Mexican peso here today in with some pivots and some price action, just because we just got done doing the COT report, the currencies edition, and I thought the Mexican peso looked really good from a commercial interest standpoint. So what are they trying to tell us? What is the chart trying to tell us? And what's the price action doing too? So I think this is a good chart. I'm ready to look at this. I'm ready to drill down into it. It looked pretty good. Where is our Mexican peso? Let's sort order here our 6-month index, and it's right at the top at 100%. So we've got quite a few things at the 100% index. 100% index again on commercial interest it's huge. It's at extremes. Anything over 80 should be a flag for us, and we want to pay attention to that. At least I do. At least in my travels and in my journaling and in my observations of charting, anything over 80% is pretty darn bullish for commercial interest. So that should automatically warrant our attention. So what we're looking at in the Mexican peso, which is something that we just added to the list of commodities that we're looking at, that we're watching, that we're getting ready to trade. And both on the 6-month index and a 3-year index, over 80%. Well over 80% on the 6-month index, setting new net long positions highs within the last 6 months. So we'll just take a quick peek at the data that is presented on our TOS chart and our indicator. And you can see for about sentiment shift quite handsomely from a very negative outlook, zero set new lows. We're in the very bearish territory for some time now in the Mexican peso. So not very optimistic, switching from not being very optimistic for many months. And then quickly, within the last 5 weeks, shifting about 50% or so. So this on the surface to me looks like they're really loading up in their net long positions, and this chart's getting ready to move. So if taking particular interest in this, we did talk about this in the currencies, but we're going to drill down into it now. So we've got our 3 chart up here, and we're just looking at the obvious. And to keep this short, we're going to use snip and sketch so that I can draw. I like drawing on this. And then we'll get into the lower time frames too. We'll take a look at that. So for the better part of a year, not very optimistic. Not very optimistic, holding underneath on the 3-year index, holding under the 50% value, which is, well, here's your sideways trading, right? Not a very optimistic look. Then breaching the 20% range, a couple of times, holding a negative outlook, maybe loading up on the net short positions, loading up on the net short contracts, and this is holding this bearish outlook or this negative outlook below the 20% range for so long would probably suggest that this is a market top here. So you load up on your net positions, and this is what commercial interest likes to see. They're holding a negative outlook. WPR in the overbought territory. Open interest is blazing. It's relatively high right now. And market sentiment is just about as high as this has been. So this is a very good recipe for a downside move. Now we know what happened in the market. It's no big secret what's been going on in the market lately. But I do like this W pattern look here for the Mexican peso. I do like this. And what we definitely like to see, and commercial interest likes to see, and this is why I'm looking to play this chart in the next couple of weeks, is that comms are shifting sentiment dramatically, loading up on the net positions. Open interest is relatively low. We've got WPR in the the oversold territory a couple of times here, and market sentiment is within the last year the lowest it's ever been. So this is better opportunity, one would think, for some retrace to the upside. Well, a little bit of price correction going on. They seem to think so, and I think that this just looks like a stellar chart. Absolutely stellar chart. One concern that I would have right now is you want to be a buyer at this point in time. I mean, you probably wait for some kind of pullback and technical test before we break higher. I mean, the technicals are here for a really bullish chart, and they haven't let up yet. So I think that this chart is getting ready to move. I think this is a good recipe, and in my observations and in dealings with commercial interest and following the chart, it's never a bad idea to be aligned with commercial interest when they're getting this bullish. Usually the chart starts to move. So once we start correcting a little bit here, and we'll look at it on lower time frames, we'll see the correction, maybe produce results. The commercial interest will stop getting as interested. So we can see this. We can see this correlation, right? I mean, it's kind of staring us in the face right now. Price action to the downside, and price starts to look quite a bit more appealing for commercial interest. And we've done this so many times. So many times we've had it look like this. And I'm not really concerned about what the analysts are saying, because 9 times out of 10 they're usually wrong. And nobody's talking about the Mexican peso right now. So I'm glad we actually got this on the chart. But I like this relationship with commercial interest and the public, retail investors or other investors are not they're not particularly interested in this right now. So that's the look at COT. So now let's drill down into some lower time frames. We'll bring up the 2 chart and just take a look at price action. So I've identified some areas where there's been some range trading, and where we could possibly find some support on some value areas. And I am using the 1 hour chart. I really like the 15-minute chart, but it's not a bad idea. Put up your 1 hour or your 4 hour. Not overly a big fan of the 4 hour chart when finding value areas. You can see it just a little bit clearer, I think, sometimes in the lower time frames. So we've set the stage. Commercial interest looks really good on this. And now does this valued area look like an accumulating pattern? Where in this chart could we have aligned ourselves with a swing pattern that was happening here, that we didn't push lower, that we got some nice price action to the upside? So we've got a value high area at the bottom here. Here's our value low. We swing through, the liquidity is taken from the pivot low, and off we go. So where's the next destination? I would think that the next destination is higher. So we have some smaller ranges at least to work with, so we can see if this is going to break down further, or where we can find an opportunity maybe to get ourselves into this trade, because I think that this is going to rip. I think that this is really going to start moving. So are you a buyer right now in this point of control area? Because the point of control looks pretty good here. A lot of trading happening, price pushing away from and having difficulties, or a lot of trading activity happening on this point of control or this median line. So here's your. Let's just do this. So here's your 0 coefficient. Here's your point of control, your midline, your median. And for all of you mean reversion fanatics out there, who are a fan of Mark Whistler or volatility theory. There's some great guys who are just absolutely stellar with volatility theory over in shark charts. Those guys are great. All right, so here's our 1.0 coefficient, and here's the 1.25. Down here we've got our negative 2.5. This is like, this is extremes. And we start trading down in this area. Whoops. Better opportunities to be a buyer in this area if this is going to continue. We're going to watch for a breakdown and maybe some kind of a technical test that could get us in the trade. Could this thing rip higher? I mean, we are trading a little bit more underneath the point of control now, but price is traveling higher. So better buying opportunities in this range to trade in along the point of control. Do not want to be a buyer up in here unless you got a pretty darn good reason to be a buyer up in this area at this high value area. Maybe you're a breakout trader, maybe you think that this is going to rip quite a bit higher, but I'm of the mind that these are better buying opportunities down here. But look for a rejection of this for a retrace lower before we continue on in the other direction. How could we have identified that this chart's getting a little bit bullish, and maybe we could have gotten into the trade here? So it's nice to establish a range as quickly as possible. I don't know that or a channel. I don't know that I would have established a channel back here. I mean, you probably could have. I mean, that's a nice point of control right there. But you want to establish a point of control off this pivot. We've got our 3. So we've got our 0 coefficient up in here. This is our descending high pattern. I'd like to do descending highs for the 0 coefficient or ascending lows for the 0 coefficient. So this automatically, these 3 pivots or these 3 points of contact for this downtrend channel look pretty darn good. They look pretty good here. And how can we tell that? How can we tell? What would have got us into this bullish, move to the upside? I like this point of control. It looks good. It's nice when that happens. It looks like we're trading on the upper half of this most of the time. There's not a lot of pushing down towards the 1.0 and the 1.25 coefficient. This already looks strong. This already looks like this wants to go the other direction because of the amount of trading that's happening in the upper half of it. So this downtrend is it's pretty darn strong, but it's not busting through. And generally speaking, you don't want to be a buyer up towards the 0 coefficient. But once we start finding support in here, right on the 0 coefficient, I think this is where you might take the opportunity to get aligned in this trade. So there wasn't a horribly wonderful swing low going, but it existed here. We did not push lower than this point. One could argue the fact that we had some nice, we had a small, build up here before a break. It just doesn't look like a solid pivot to work with. We didn't pivot out of here to give us something to work with in a technical test. I mean, I think you could argue that. We swung low, we pivoted out of here. We're on the point of control, but did it give us anything? This just doesn't look like this wants to go anywhere. Same difference over here too. I just don't like these pivots. I mean, this is a nice tail. That's a nice tail, but equally, here's a nice big red candle. Right along that 0 coefficient. So, I mean, this looked a little bit better. We pivot, I mean, not really. I mean, we come down. It's such a hard decision to make that this is. I like this technical test for a scalp play, maybe. And then when we break out and break above So not only do we break above the zero coefficient and find support here, but we also found this value low area. We found support on here. So this was the time to be a buyer. That was the point right there. As it looks considerably different than all of the trading that happened. No trading happened above this on the entire downtrend. And we're right above this. You got to think, well, it's going to break sooner or later, right? This is going to break sooner or later, and then we find support. So that was a nice scalp play. So we get our. So now we're looking. Yeah, I want to look a little better when you zoom in, right? Look a little better. No, not really, because we break lower. We break lower here. We do find a little. That's it right there. That's a key for at least a scalp play. Zero coefficient, find support on the value low range, and then we break higher. And buyers are waiting for an opportunity on this breakout to get into this trade, and whew, off we go. So that looked good. So how would you know, oh, well, maybe I should probably get out of this trade on this very short-term uptrend? And the answer is, here's this, the excessiveness up over the 1.2. We break back in. Oh yeah, we're finding, a lot of trading, a little bit of trading going on the point of control, and finding rejection. So rejection on the point of control, struggling on the zero coefficient, and then we break out of it. So this is where you got to think sell. This is definitely the area you've got to think, I got to get out of this trade because of how much excessive trading is going on outside of this. We do not push higher. Sets the high, sets the swing high. Nice candle. Buyers wanted to jump in and keep the ball rolling, but we're up here over the 1.25. That's an immediate signal for me that it's time to get out of this trade, or at least take profits, and then find out what happens down here. Maybe you'll take some profits and you think about maybe loading up back on the point of control over the zero coefficient, but it just didn't look strong here. So then how do we know that this was over? This run was over. And I think the answer is, you wait for this low to be busted. Wait for a break back into the range, and you become a buyer again. So where's our short scale? I mean, this is yeah. I mean, pivot high. Well, it looks pretty good, right? Not a very strong downtrend. We get our 3 points relatively early. The swing high, the swing low, and we get, that action going on right here. Lo and behold, do not want to be a buyer on the zero coefficient. Better to be a buyer down here below the 1.0 and the 1.25. This looked good to be a buyer down here. And we found, our 3 channel pivots relatively soon. So is this a good point of control? Yeah, pretty decent. Pretty decent. A lot of trading, a lot of pushing away going from the point of control. We swing low. A good time to be a buyer. Break back in, find support, and then you're in the long trade. So again, on the zero coefficient, get a little bit of rejection, and it's time to be a buyer on the point of control. That looked like a nice swing, right? Nice bullish candle down here. Nice bullish candle down here, and a powerful pivot. So we got higher low, low, higher low, and this trade's well above the previous 4 candles. This is a nice, good setup. If you weren't a buyer, in this, in this area, here's our opportunity. So a little bit of struggle on the zero coefficient. We break out, we break above, and we find support on the -2.5 coefficient of this, seemingly not so strong downtrend. And here we are in an uptrend. how long will it last? And do you want to be a buyer on the point of control? It's tough. We're right in the middle. So I would wait for a better opportunity if it presents itself. It may not. It may just run. This just may run to the upside. But this is where you may also think about, being a seller. So not a bad idea. On support, I would like to see them maintain support above this. Look at this area, right? This looks pretty good right here. I like this chart. I really do like this chart. How much sideways trading are we going to get in here? Creeping up towards the top of I think that you gotta think that they're probably after this pivot here. That buyers are looking to get up in here, but I'm not a buyer up in here. I'm not a buyer up in here. I would like to place my bets down in this area, maybe somewhere. Let's just clean up some of this downtrend channel. I kind of want to keep it there. I kind of want to keep it there for a minute. When I do find these value areas, I like to load up like a 50 to 60%. Take a peek that way and find a middle ground of the value area. And we're just above it right now, so gosh, it really sucks that we weren't buyers down here. But looking forward on the chart, I want to see something. I want to see something that's going to get me into this trade, because I think from commercial interest standpoint, this looks like this looks good. So can we swing high, swing low, and then this looks like it already got a higher low, right? No, we might be swinging out of this already. We might get some positive upside here. And what are they after? I think this is going to be the area to watch for sure. And be mindful that there's going to be some resistance up in this area. And this is potentially the area where this could retrace a little bit to see if we find some support down here in this higher value area. I think it can run. I'd like to see it find some support up in here first, then go up and challenge this. Do I want to be a buyer right now? I'm going to wait for a better opportunity, and then I'm definitely going to be a buyer, because I like this. I like this swing here. And we push lower than this, and that could be your higher low right there. We do have a nice swing going on in here, and then this is in question. 1, 2. So as long as we don't push lower than this pivot right here, and this value low area, I think we need to maintain support there. Let's just clean this up a little bit. Let's just draw a downtrend line. Let's just draw this line right here so we know where the zero coefficient is, and we can get rid of this and clean it up a little bit. Yeah. And look at that, right? So here's our value low area, and we find support up in this. Oh, look at that, right? Look at that. So this seemingly doesn't look like much, but this is Wednesday to Friday. So a better part of a week we're trading in this area. And I got some nice congestion. Pivot off of this. This is your value low area. Rejection, rejection, support. Just about support, lose it. Break back up and find support on it again. So this is, we don't swing lower than this. I think this chart's going up. I like this chart. I'm going to play this chart this week. It might be the only chart that I play this week. When we get locked into a nice long position on this, and find some retrace, some correction, some price correction after this massive sell-off that's been going on in the market, this looks like a nice accumulating pattern. There's a lot to work with here. It looks good. That's what I gotta say about the Mexican peso. Comms are bullish. We've got a nice little short uptrend working for us here. We found support on this, seemingly a pretty good retrace, right? This is a pretty good sell-off. So Friday to about a week and a half of downtrend. So plenty of opportunity to get your shorts in. And now, let's go. Let's go, Mexican peso. Oh, look here, right? Look here. Doesn't look like much. Doesn't look like much, but this is an area of contention. I think we're finding support. So I'd like to see this not break down, and I would like to see this, continue higher. Yeah, good chart. Hope you play it. Hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade with the Mexican peso here. And mind your channels, mind your coefficients. If you'd like to stop into our Discord, it's our community chat. We post our charts, we post our videos, we talk trade. Well, I do a lot of talking trade. Community's a little bit smaller, but we're just getting started here. We're just getting fired up. So thanks for stopping in. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thanks for leaving comments. We really appreciate those. So stop in on the Discord community. They've got an app. The server address is listed here. Program it into the application and come chat with us. All right. Until the next video, I hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade.